Assalamu alaikum. Jazakallah khair. Thanks so much for doing this. My name is Omar. I get to serve the team at Islamic Family, or IFSA. IFSA's been around for more than 30 years. It's an Imagine Canada accredited charity, which is the gold standard for charities in Canada. We've also been Great Places to Work certified, which is a huge achievement. You don't often see that in the charitable sector, let alone the Muslim charitable sector. And some of the recognition we've received is the Inspiration Award for Combating Domestic Violence, the Canadian Mental Health Association Award for Professional Care, a Justice Innovation Award, and also, not common in the nonprofit sector, a Startup Award for our innovation. And the reason people come to us is because of safety, security, and growth. We provide professional mental health and counseling. We support with refugee sponsorship. We help people who are going through food insecurity or income crisis, people leaving domestic violence, people looking for support through that, and also help youth in our community grow and flourish through things like civic youth fellowships, having an opportunity to perform at our stage. And alhamdulillah, I've had the opportunity to work with the organization for a number of years.
How did you get into it?
It's a good question. I remember actually first volunteering with the organization when I was really young, and they were running...
How young were you?
That's a good question. I was probably still a teen of some age. I can't remember.
High school?
Maybe high school. And they were running... They were running a Muslim food bank at the time, and I remember it was in the back of an industrial warehouse, and we were using a coffee cup to fill the baskets, and all sorts of...
This is in Edmonton?
This is in Edmonton. In the Islamic Family itself started in a community member's basement, and it's grown steadily ever since. Now we're an organization with more than 40 professional staff, cutting across a number of areas, doing work in the community that's often neglected, and that desperately needs attention.
And you told me you guys have been at this for 32 years.
Yeah, mashallah, 1992.
SubhanAllah. That's awesome. That's, I think, the year I graduated high school or something.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
Yeah. Islamic Family is actually one of Canada's oldest Muslim social service organizations and one of North America's. Edmonton is home to Canada's first mosque, but also Canada's first social service organization.
SubhanAllah. Okay, we were talking earlier.
Yeah.
And you had some, I guess you're not just doing what some might stereotypically expect that a charitable organization, Islamic charity, would do. I think what the kind of things that you guys were talking to me about, and I really wanted to make sure you guys were up here and we got into it a bit, because I think those are the kind of big ideas that we need, and I was mentioning that to you right there. So I think you had a couple of things that you wanted to that I wanted to get behind, and I think the first one that you mentioned that really sounded interesting was a halal affordable housing product concept. And I think you guys have been working on that. It's a very conceptual kind of thing, but I think those are the kind of awesome things that we really need to talk about, concepts and ideas. And ideas that aren't just like, I was sitting in my bed one day and just decided, I thought of this idea. This is why you guys are working on this.
Yeah.
And this is exciting. So why don't you tell me about it?
Yeah, so we've been working on affordable housing since 2017. And I should talk about the story, or stories that actually lead us here. One of the stories that really hit me hard was a mother who was in an abusive situation. She was taking care of her kids, one of whom was special needs, and she was also taking care of her parents. And through this all, she was in an abusive situation that she wanted to leave. And every shelter in the city said, you have to choose between your parents and your kids. We can't take your family in. We can't take your parents in and your kids. And so her choice was abandon your kids, abandon your parents, or stay in an abusive situation. And that's not a situation anyone should have to choose. It's a heart-wrenching situation, and it took years and years to find a workable solution for her, and that, it's frankly not acceptable. Another story, and there's many of these, but another story that really emphasizes why housing is so important is at the beginning of the refugee crisis, the most recent one with Iraq and Syria. We were welcoming a family where there was more than 12 kids. This father was taking care of his nieces and nephews. His siblings had died in the war, and so now he had this very large family he was taking care of. And as you can imagine, if you have a family of more than 12, there's not a lot of places that you can go. And so this family had to be distributed across a number of different rental units in an apartment. And I really felt for them. You know, imagine after all this turmoil, all this challenge, your family can't even sleep together in one roof. They have to be broken up in all these different units. And that really speaks to the need for us to be addressing halal affordable housing. Right? A lot of people talk about halal financing for well-to-do Muslims, but it's more important that we look at halal financing, halal housing design, sustainability to create affordable housing that can change Canada. Where we are in this project is we're closing on land. We spent the last year working with CMHC and the Halal Housing Lab. We're sharing a huge body of knowledge on halal housing, what we learned through halalhousinglab.ca. And what we hope to do is in 2024, break ground on a project that will, inshallah, see housing for more than 40 families.
So what does it look like? Like, so far you imagined it. You've got a website, I'm assuming that's going to inspire, if it's called labs, I'm assuming there's some kind of innovation, something exciting happening. So tell me, what does this look like?
So what we learned in the Halal Housing Lab is there's 4 real components that are essential to making halal affordable housing. The first is actually designing around the larger family. The average family we serve is a family of 7.
SubhanAllah.
Right? MashaAllah, very large. And as you can imagine, there isn't a lot of housing in Canada that's built around larger families. I'll give you an example. In a city like Edmonton, we need 40,000 new 3+ bedroom units by 2026.
They're not building it that way, that's for sure. No,
that's double the number of 1 and 2 bedroom units needed.
Yeah, they're making them smaller, stacking them closer, and that's what they're doing.
Right? And you know why this is important is these larger families, they're waiting 3 or 4 years to find housing. In that period where they don't have stable housing, the family isn't stable. Right? If we address stable housing, we stabilize, give a family security. That means the kids do better at school, means that we have less work to do in mental health, less work to do in counseling, less work to do in domestic violence, less work to do in income. Housing is the ultimate medicine, right? And it's the area that really we as a community have an opportunity to step up in a significant way. Now, Muslims are overrepresented in affordable housing right now. So in a city like Edmonton, we're, 4.5% of the city, but 11% of people in affordable housing, right?
Wow.
And we as a community have to step up. And we have really incredible opportunities to build housing differently and to sustain housing differently.
So if this is a financial product, so get behind that a bit. Like, I'm not much of a finance guy, but break it down to a layman like myself. In this particular way, what does that mean as a financial product?
So, if we think about housing is a stable asset, general, right? It's not something where you're expecting unicorn-like returns, but it's something where you can say, oh, it's going to be stable. It's a nice, stable halal return. If we think about what is necessary to build more housing, it's actually new types of capital. Investment capital is really important. And what is investment capital, right? We're used to debt capital for affordable housing, right? That's how most affordable housing is built. It's built with a combination of grants from the government and debt from conventional finance institutions. What we're working on is an alternative, an equity product to support affordable housing that complements grants. And so what that means is your mom and pop, people like you and I who have, alhamdulillah, the ability to put some money in our RSP, RESP, but we don't like the products that are out there, well, we can put it towards building a halal housing. Get a reasonable return, not a grandiose return, but also get an incredible akhirah return and impact return.
Allahu Akbar.
And so super, super excited about this. Who else is excited about this is institutional investors like retirement funds and community foundations that have a mandate to have social impact and don't have a lot of product that they can invest in. So we're marrying these two things, the Sharia compliance, the halal financing, and the impact financing, which is something that I, as a person, have wanted to see for a lot of years and really excited about the impact this can have in terms of helping families in our community who really need it find the housing they need and doing it at a scale that's national.
SubhanAllah. Wow, no, that's really. I'm looking forward to some of the material that you're going to send me. I'd love to read more about it, get behind it, and figure out like how we can really kind of promote and get behind this in a way that's going to be interesting. But you did mention a couple other things, because like this is not the only interesting.
On that one, people can check out halalhousinglab.ca.
Okay.
If they want to learn more about what this looks like. There's actually a 5-part podcast there where they can dig in deeper, and a lot of materials in terms of what this project looks like, some conceptual drawings. I'm really, really excited and excited to see this break ground this year.
No, awesome. I wanted to make sure I got another, because like I said, this is not the only bit of innovation that you guys got going. I think the other one was the Ummah reimagining the food bank.
Yeah.
And this is like, you can see these guys are like in very different spaces. You think they're different spaces, but you guys are thinking out of the box, which is fantastic. Go ahead and tell me about what that is.
Yeah. To really talk about what it takes for the Ummah to reimagine food banks, we have to think a little bit first about what is a food bank, right? And most people think about food banks as this thing that's always been around. But the first food bank actually started in Edmonton in the late 70s, early 80s. It's actually not that old of a concept, right? Yet we take it for granted as this is the way we do charity. And as Muslims, when we think about our institution, zakat isn't charity.
Mm-hmm.
Zakat is economic justice. Zakat has as its pillar dignity over diligence, right? And I'll explain that a little bit, right? Dignity is the person giving should not feel like they are less than anyone else. We shouldn't have to make them go through huge hurdles to be able to get a small amount. And that's unfortunately the model of food banks. And so what we're doing is we're using a community-based loyalty program, a community rewards program to upend that model. And so imagine that you have an app on your phone. You might be using that app because you really care about finding halal restaurants. Someone else might be using that app because a social worker helped them set it up. You can load this app up with tokens, and then you can go and spend it at the halal restaurant, the halal grocery store. You can buy the food you want. You can discover great halal opportunities. And no one knows if you have credit on that system because, one, you just love halal food, or because a social worker helped top you up.
Very interesting. And because it's an app, I have to ask, how does it kind of, does it interoperate, or how does it line up against your typical food, or the DoorDashes, the Ubers and things like that? I'm sure there's like a model there that's just become so normative.
Yeah.
You know, when people use that, and that's how they think, right? So how are you kind of trying to capitalize on that?
Oh, totally. So we're building the app ourselves, which has been super exciting and not something you see enough of in the social service sector.
That's for sure.
What the app also does is, most people don't want to download another app on their phone,
yes,
right? It's like going to a dentist now, right? It's lost the appeal it had a few years ago. But what's really cool about apps is what it can do is it can actually free capital, right? So if you think about every time you go to a grocery store and you pay with your card, you're actually paying Visa, you're paying MasterCard, you're paying your bank, you're paying a percentage of the total charge, and you're paying a transaction charge.
That's right, yeah.
And that's money that the merchant loses and that the community loses.
Community loses, yeah, 100%.
Right? And so by creating an app, we can contain that wealth within the community, and it can circulate, and that's a virtuous cycle. And so that merchant, that 3% that was going to Visa, now it can stay in the Muslim economy. And the merchant can say, hey, I want to give 1% back as a discount to anyone who uses this app. I want to provide more rewards. Many people who are in this space have maybe thought about local dollar programs. Local dollar programs are wonderful, but they're inherently charitable. What's cool about the app space is you're providing a return to the merchant, and you're providing a return to, the Muslim foodie as well as the Muslim in need. So it's a nice way to think about doing this work in a way that provides more dignity to the person who needs it, more opportunity to the community to keep money circulating.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. That's really exciting, because I think you can really get people into it. And then, we kind of had this food culture that you're kind of tapping into.
Oh, man.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating.
And I'm also really, really happy to connect with anyone. My name is Omar Yaqub.
Okay. Jazakallah khairs.
Jazakallah khair. Well, yeah.